Today we're going to be looking at merging with GitHub and how and why we use it. The first thing is, why are we branching and merging? One of the biggest reasons on this is it takes advantage of the features or the tool itself, Git/GitHub. So Git is the tool that's underneath what we're using. Git is the source control system, it's the distributed system, and it is the most popular tool right now. And GitHub is that nice interface we've been using all year for it. But it really takes advantage of some of the features of it instead of simply just backing up our data. The massive power of GitHub is it allows you to keep track of changes in code. Because one of the biggest things about code is we're not always doing the same thing. Sometimes we're trying new things. Sometimes we're working on other things. And so GitHub allows us to have different sets or different tracks of information. So the idea right here is we're going to have a stable trunk as our main line of code. And then we'll have branches we branch off and add to the main trunk, put it back in, so that our code itself will be working better all the time. And on top of that, we have, anytime we want to try something new or we're not sure it's going to work, we put it on a branch. That way it doesn't affect our main chunk of code, but rather our main chunk of code is always good. And if we try something out and it breaks, we can either just ignore that branch itself and just go back to the main branch, or we can continue working that little sub feature until it works and then bring it in. So that way we can actually keep going along with this. So we have a sequence, and this is what I especially want to make sure you get in your notes. There's a sequence that goes along with branching and merging. So the first part of that is we have to actually create the branch. Before we write more code, we make a new branch. Our second step is we actually write the code or we edit it. Then we commit it just like normal, and we'll probably do a few commits. Also just like normal. So we've gone through the edit, commit, edit, commit, edit, commit. We repeat that process ad nauseum as usual. And then once we have our project done, that little side feature, once we're ready to bring it back in, we want to merge it into the main trunk. To do that, we use our merge feature, and that brings it from the side branch into the main branch. And so it's going to put it so it's part of our functional big trunk of code that everything we're doing goes along with. And then we'll repeat that process ad nauseum again every time we add a new feature. So the branch itself is where we set up our trial code. You want to make sure you do this before you make the changes. One of the biggest things you want to do is you want to make sure you make this branch something that makes sense. Again, just like with everything else in GitHub, no spaces in our file name. So our branch name, we use either underscores or mixed case notation. And that branch name will be, the big principle on that is the KISS principle. Again, keep it simple. Keep it stupidly simple. Name it something that makes sense, like add new pop-up window feature, or testing out icon, or something that makes sense as to what the actual feature you're adding is, so that you know exactly why that branch is there in the first place. And so to branch our code, all we have to do is we use the branch icon inside GitHub. We saw this both on the website, and here's the screenshot from the actual application on Mac. We have that branch icon. It's this little thing right here with the arrow pointing to it. And in that branch icon, you can see that you click on that, and it'll prompt you to give it a name for your branch. We have, after we've made our branch, we have our current branch indicator. And so we can see our current branch right here. We're in the master branch, which means I've not yet branched my code off. I have to make sure that when I choose my branch, that I have that selected for the branch I want to use. So after I've made my branch, I need to make sure that I select that. And I do that by clicking on that lovely little down triangle right next to it. And when I click on that down triangle, that's how I get to the new branch for it. Editing the code, we do this all the time. So this is usually whatever editor of choice, your IDE, whether it's Eclipse, Android Studio, Xcode, whichever editor we're using in class, you use that editor for it, and you add your code to it and keep doing your regular save and commit structure you always do. But just save often. Standard policy, save so you don't lose things. Save to make sure you always add stuff. Update your versions if you're making changes to stuff like that. Always a good idea. Committing, again, the standard rule applies. Commit every time you hit save. It's always best to save often and commit often. It doesn't take any real, it's a couple seconds of time. It's a nice pause for your brain, always good for you. You want to make sure you commit to the correct branch. And so this is where in the tool we make sure we choose the branch and not the main. And so there's two spots we have to check. It's the top left, which has the name of the branch on the branch indicator. And on the button itself for commit, it'll either say commit to master like we've been doing all year, which is not what we're looking for. In this case, we're looking for commit to the branch. And then we, again, just like I said again, you commit every save. Always commit. Save often, commit often. As we can see right here, we have our commit to branch, and so we have that little notification Up here in the top left, we have that try adding an icon branch. So we identify it right there. We also identify it on the commit button itself. We're in that branch. So we have two ways we can visually cue ourselves that we're in the right location. Okay, merging the branch into the trunk. So this is the process we'll do once we're done with the branch. We think we've got the code ready to put back into the actual project. This is also known as integration. And so we want to make sure, of course, that we've committed everything in both our branch and our master. Now, this is just a reminder. You already should be doing this since we're committing all the time, because we commit every time we save. When we merge it, we want to make sure we select the main branch from our branch indicator. This is something you especially want to get in your notes. You need to select the main branch when we merge, because we're merging into the main branch. So when you're merging, you want to make sure you have the main branch selected as the branch. We do that with that drop-down menu in the top left. And you then click on the branch drop-down menu from the top menu bar of GitHub. And in that top menu bar, you choose the merge into ... And we choose to merge into it. And so we're going to have that ready to go. And then you hit the merge button. It's really amazing. This is actually a lot better than using the command line tool Git. The Git tool that this is based off of doesn't actually work this easily. It's just a sequences of commands you have to type in the exact order, the exact right time, every single time, or it won't work right. As you can see right here, we've got a screenshot of my screen when I was doing this earlier today. We're going to go through and do this when we do the project. So on the, I check to make sure I'm in my master tab right here. I go to my branch, click on the drop-down menu, and I choose merge into master ... And I will choose from that the branch I'm merging into it. Afterwards, we'll get this lovely little thing where it says it's merge branch into it. So we actually have that in there. So once it's occurred, we get the merge into. And so we have the idea that we're going to we choose merge into master. We choose the branch we're merging into our trunk, aka master. We merge that in. We hit the merge button, and we're good to go. So that's what the process is. We're going to actually do that now in class. We're going to develop a brand new feature, add that pop-up icon feature into our main code. We're going to test it out and then merge it into the actual project. So that's what we're going to be doing with that. And again, like I said, the idea of repeating this process ad nauseum, every time you're adding a new feature to your code, this would be the best practices to use. Is you add a new branch, add your new code, merge your branch into the main project. Add new branch, add more code, merge that branch back in. Add branch, code, repeat. Because that way your code is always stable, and your unstable code is only on a branch, never in the main trunk. So far this year, all of our projects we've done, we've been every day we leave, we have stable code. But this way, it's as our projects get a little bit bigger, sometimes we may not be totally finished in class. And so if we branch off first and then merge in, it's the idea that we can have our code be a bit more stable as we do it. We've got our chatbot open. Our first step on the process again is we want to go to our GitHub and create a branch. So let's do that right now. So before we add code, we're going to go to GitHub. And in my GitHub project, I've got Chatbot 15. That's a project I'm working on right here, as we can see as well. Okay, and I'm branching from the master. And my name is this, and I should actually have that be a capital. Make it a little bit more proper. And I create branch really hard. So I've created a branch. So I'm off of my master branch, and I branch down to adding icon to popup. So you can see this visual cue right here as well. And that was just clicking off of right here off the branch icon. So I add a branch. I typed in the name. We notice that now my branch indicator indicates what branch I'm on. And my commit button also indicates where I'm branching. So GitHub is telling us right now where we are. This is one of the reasons I like GitHub over Git, is we have visual reminders of where we are, and so we keep ourselves reminding what we're doing. Okay, I'm up to date. There's no changes, so I don't have anything to commit right now. No biggie. Okay, we're all good. And I'm going to go back over to my code, and we're going to be using our ChatView object is what we're going to be updating. So we're going to update our ChatView.java, and we're going to be adding a pop-up icon to it. So in order to do the pop-up icon, we're going to add a couple other components to our pop-up at the same time, because it's required in order to add an icon to it. We have to add some text to it as well. So to do that, we're going to make our ChatView have a constructor. So inside ChatView, Because we want to initialize stuff now rather than simply have methods, we need to have a constructor in our ChatView object. So ChatView in this case. Open and close parens, it's a default constructor. So we've had our default constructor because we're going to have to initialize values because that's the purpose of it. The values we're going to initialize are a string and an icon. So up here in our declaration section, we make two data members. As always, having headphones up, our data members will be both private because they're always going to be visible only to the object. And so we'll make a private string and a private image icon. So I have two data members we're going to use with that. We have a red underline of doom on our chat icon, image icon, because we need to do something with it. We need to import for it. Very good. So in my import section, I'm going to add import javax.swing.imageIcon. So I have two values right there. They're declared. The value inside both of them right now is null because they've not been initialized. Because whose job is it to initialize? The constructor. And so we're going to build them right now in our constructor. So our image, our message right here, we'll do window message first. Standard initialization of a string. So standard initialization of a string right here of window message, assigning something within quotes to it. We also need to initialize our image icon. Now our image icon has some new code attached to it. So we want to make sure we pay attention to this. This is one of the reasons why we're doing this as a branch. Because we're adding some new code and new features and stuff we haven't done before. And so since we're not comfortable with this or familiar with it, we're branching into a new branch. And then we'll add it into the main trunk once it's finished. So to initialize an image icon, we type in the name of the variable as always. The equal sign also as always. The keyword new, because we're initializing a new object or instantiating it. We call its constructor, which is the same name as the class. And inside the parameter for the constructor, we're going to pass it a fairly complex sequence. Get class, parens. We're going to call the get class method, .get resource, and then the name of the file. Please make sure you use the / and not a backslash. And make sure you have the correct extension on your file. So if you made a JPEG, that would be .jpeg. If you made a GIF, it would be .gif. Note that this is, of course, case sensitive. So make sure you save the right extension on that. And what this is doing, this is only going to work if we have the image stored in our projects. This is a new thing right here. The getClass.getResource looks inside our existing project. It looks for our package, in this case, chat.view. And inside chat.view, it's then going to look for an images folder and then a file inside that called chatbot.png. You, of course, would name that as necessary for your own file name. So if we look over here inside chat.view, you notice we don't have an images folder yet. So let's add that. We click on chat.view, the package. We right-click, choose New on chat.view. Right-click on your package, choose New, and select Folder. And you want to make sure, again, you check to make sure you're inside View. So we have our name of our project, source/chat/view. And the folder name will be images, plural.
Like the capital I or
lowercase I, just like we typed. So again, if I scroll this over here, you can see that I'm inside my View folder. And it's images, just like I have over here. So I'm in the View folder. It's called images. And all I have to do is hit finish. Now mine automatically populated itself right here inside my Project Explorer. If yours doesn't automatically populate, if you right-click right here and choose Refresh, you should see your images folder show up. So what we need to do now is we need to put our image in the images folder. So go to your Finder and go to your wherever you stored your folder, your picture. And I have my chatbot PNG right here. And you drag your file from Finder into the images folder, which should be selected. You also see a lovely green icon right here. And it will bring up a pop-up, and you want to choose copy image or copy file.
copy file.
And you now get a lovely triangle next to your images folder.
And it says
And if you click down on it, you have now your chatbot.png, your chatbot.jpg, your file name, whatever, will be listed right there. Now, all that, we've not used it yet, so if we run our project, it's going to do exactly what we've done. But we made some changes to our code, so what should we do, of course? Commit and save. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to update this and added constructor. I made a change. I saved. I added a note. I should also commit to GitHub. Again, I've made changes. Notice that I'm in my branch right here. And I added constructor. So I have now in my history for this branch, I only have one commit because it's just that branch's history. But I'm right here on this branch. We can see right here that I'm on my icon branch, not on my main branch or master branch. And so I've added that. So now I've initialized my value. I have declared my data members. And I've added my image into my project. So what we need to do now to actually make that addition to our change. So our next change we're going to do is we're going to make it so we have the icon happen. So to do that, we're going to go down here and we're going to go to our, I'm using, my first one happens to be my input method. So I'm going to use that first. I'm going to maximize my screen. And I'm going to shrink my font down a little bit with you guys, because this is going to get a little wide. Because we have to add some extra parameters. So what we're going to do is on that line right here, where I have our user input line, we're going to add a couple parameters on this. So in order to use a pop-up with a JOption pane to have an icon on it, we have to add some extra parameters to it. The first parameter we're going to add to it, we use a comma again, just like always, to separate parameters. Our first parameter we add is the window message parameter. And the window message parameter is where we're going to put it's going to be a title bar for our pop-up. And so that's why I said this message brought to you by the chatbot, because it's explaining where that's coming from. We then add our next parameter, JOptionPane.information message parameter. This tells the JOption pane which kind of pop-up to make. It's as we can tell right here, we know it's a constant because it's in caps. And it's a static variable because it is simply being referred to by the class dot this. There's not like an instance of it. We then pass it the icon parameter. And the icon parameter is the image that we're going to be using. We're then going to pass it a null parameter. And then a string. In this case, I'm going to say type here, please. So our new method sequence is a lot wider than our previous one. The first parameter we added was the window message. That will be our title bar for our pop-up window. We added, we have to tell it what kind of message, what kind of pop-up we're using. And we're going to use the JOptionPane.information message. That's a constant value that JOptionPane already knows. So we know what we use is the right one. The next parameter is the icon parameter. So that's the icon we just initialized up here in our constructor. This null parameter refers to an array that we're not using. We're not worrying about that right now. And our final parameter is what are we going to put inside our type in field. And then because we're using this bigger sequence of code, we have to add a .toString at the end. Because this bigger sequence right here allows for something besides text to be put in. If we hadn't put in this information message and this string sequence right here. So we have to tell it that we only want strings out of it. So to do that, we add .toString at the end of the parens. So we've added this feature. This is a great time to take a screenshot. And again, in your notes, the best thing with screenshots is to indicate what this does. So this right here is have an input pop-up with an icon. And I just hit save. So what else should I do? Commit and version. So 1.2. And I am now, instead of just adding a constructor, I'm adding icon to the input window. And that was a great question. So we declared this window message right here and this chat icon right here and initialized them in our constructor because in order to use the input pop-up window, we must have a title bar for that and we must also have that icon. These three other parameters are required only for the pop-up window. Because we always want to commit, again, make sure we're committing to the branch, not the master. So my commit message is updated the input. I'm going to take it back up to a larger font size. So on our parameterless sequence, I've got this now specified so it's a little bit bigger. Another way to take a screenshot for it. The first parameter is still null because there's not an owner for this window. Second parameter is the text we're displaying.
ImageIcon.
The window message is our third parameter. Our fourth parameter is jopchampagne.information message. Fifth parameter is the chat icon. Sixth parameter is a null. Our last parameter is simply text inside quotes. Make sure your quotes are both there. And then a close parens, .toString. Okay, so let's play this and see what's different. This is why you want to make sure you pick an image that's small. If you put a huge image in the case of a word cloud based on everything inside Chatbot, it makes your pop-up window take up your entire screen. As you can see, that type here please shows up right here. My icon is directly over here to the left of my code, or of my screen, and I still have my OK and cancel. Now we have our regular pop-up right there. Let's make it so that our non-input pop-up also has an icon. So to add the icon to our other pop-up, we go down to our output message. Again, we do a comma. We do window message for that parameter. Our parameter for this one is jopchampagne. And we choose plain message on this one. Next parameter is chat icon. And I do not have any other parameters on the output one. The output one merely has the jopchampagne message and then the icon. So I hit save. I'm updating my version information. I'm on version 3. Adding it to the output pop-up. Again, I added that. This has the parameter of the same two first parameters. I added the window message as my third parameter. The jopchampagne play message is my fourth parameter, and the icon itself is my fifth parameter. I hit play, and I type here, please. Hit OK, and it has a pop-up now with the plain text, not the prompt one. So I've got it set, so this is going to grab that and store it as an input. We have it set so it deals with that. We have it now. We have an input method that can grab a string with a pop-up window and an icon. Our output can also have the icon. We've added that to our first commit. We want to commit it again now for that output version in GitHub. So output window has an icon too. So we're committing that we have an output icon. So we look at our history now. We have added our constructor. We updated our input method. Output window has an icon as well. We made some changes to our branch, and they were successful changes. So now we have successful changes. We want to integrate those changes back into our project, just like we talked about in our notes earlier. So to do this, to update this into the branch, and this is where we want to make sure we're following along and paying attention, everybody. So I'm going to go over here to my branch indicator. I'm going to choose the master branch. Okay, my master branch is no uncommitted changes, which is as it should be. So I went to the branch indicator and I chose the branch I want to merge into. So I chose master. I'm going to go back up to my branch drop-down menu. And I'm going to choose merge into master. And so I'm merging into master. I'm merging not from master. I'm merging from the adding icon to pop-up. As you can see right here, it tells us we have 3 commits that we just did that are going to be merged into the head from the pop-up into our master, because that's where we're merging into. And we hit the merge button. I hit merge. We get this cute little icon right here that looks kind of like a sideways 7. And we have merged that project into this. So now our branch of adding icon was merged into the main branch. And we're now back in the main branch again. We now would want to sync our project up on github.com. So again, our sequence.
Branch, edit, commit, mark,
We branch first before we start our new code edit. We edit our code, make the changes for that new thing we want to try out. We commit early, we commit often. Every time we make a save, we commit it. Once we're comfortable with the actual addition to our code, we then merge it. That merging process, we choose the lovely little merge icon right here. Merge into master. We select the branch for merging into master. We hit merge, and then we sync our project and repeat as necessary.